Hi everyone and welcome back to my studio. Before we start, let's talk about something exciting. Some of you may have seen that I've partnered up with Class 101 to come out with a huge masterclass showing my detailed process in making full-blown illustrations like this one, or this one. I know, approaching something like that can be overwhelming, but I will give you simple and easy to follow steps, starting from basics like drawing faces or anatomy, to then come up with an interesting character and placing them into a background that fits their personality and tells a story. There will be a link in the description to sign up to get notified once the class is up, and it will also give you a chance to complete a survey telling me what you don't want me to miss talking about or want me to focus on more in this class. We're super close to a goal, so thank you so much to everyone who supported my class so far. If you want to help me make this possible, please consider checking it out and signing up to get notified. Thank you for listening to all of this, and let's get into the video. So a few days ago, I watched a Holly Brown video where she talked about adult coloring books, but something that caught my attention was actually in the speed paint that she was talking over. She was drawing a character in a background and she was using some kind of perspective grid to draw the room around the person. Whenever I draw rooms or backgrounds, I approach them differently and also never have used a grid like that before. Yeah, I've drawn the occasional perspective line to get things more accurately, but that grid kind of got my attention. So today I'll be trying to draw a person in a background using that grid. I'm going to show you how to use a tool like this, and we're going to find out how well it works for me and if it's a good tool for drawing rooms in perspective. So let's get into it. I found this grid just by searching perspective grid on Google. So you also should be able to easily find this, both in 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective, and a lot of other versions of this. So yeah, just take a look and I'm sure you'll find the right one that fits you. So now, how does this grid work, or how are you able to work with this to draw a background? Very basically, this just shows you multiple iterations of vanishing lines that come from 2 vanishing points, which is why this is a 2-point perspective grid. You can also download ones for 3-point perspective and so on, and then also the one where it's kind of like a fisheye effect and stuff. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to use the 2-point perspective grid in this video, and I think that's also the one that Holly Brown used. So yeah, when you would be drawing in a 2-point perspective, you would be determining the horizon line, which in this case is right here. So yeah, depending on where you place this line, the way your illustration is going to look is going to change. So let's do some examples how you could use this perspective grid. So these lines that you see that are kind of going diagonally are the lines going towards the vanishing points, which in this case would be roughly around here and then also around here. And then we just have vertical lines that you can use to draw all kinds of objects. So I'm going to just show you by drawing a simple box, and I'm going to show you how you can use these perspective lines to draw that. So you would use these vertical lines for any edges that go towards the sky or the ground, and then you can just use the diagonal lines to complete the box like this, for example. I'm just going to make an example here. Just following the lines, you can complete the box without really having to think about it too much. You can just use them as a guideline, and drawing rooms or any object within the room would work pretty much the same. You would just determine where you want the horizon line to be, and the horizon line in a way is where you as the viewer are placed. So for example, if the horizon line is further up in the picture like this, it seems as if you are looking down on the scene because you are also further up. So the horizon line is now here. You are up in the picture. And if I was to draw a box now at roughly the same place I was drawing it before, it would look as if you are looking down on it, if that makes sense. We can also invert this, obviously. So just by turning the grid upside down to make it more easy. Now, if the horizon line is further down, you are looking you are below the box in this case and looking up because you are down in the illustration. I hope this made sense. Perspective is something tricky and you have to get behind it, but as soon as you understand it, it's pretty easy to use. And that's what we're going to be doing today by drawing an illustration using this grid. Okay, let's get right into it. I placed the grid pretty much in the middle, so the horizon line is also in the middle of my canvas pretty much. And yeah, I immediately had an idea. Since the canvas is very horizontal, I wanted this to also work as a postcard print, so I used this kind of size and dimensions. So I wanted to have 2 focus points in the illustration. So I drew a girl and then also her dog, to make a fitting composition. I started with a very rough sketch to kind of lay out what I wanted the illustration to be. And to be able to move things around easily. And then you can now see me go over everything with a pink sketch, which still is just a sketch layer, but for me to nail down anatomy and composition even more and to determine what exactly I want to be in this room and what exactly I want to be where, and something that would be enough guideline for my line layer. So yeah, I also had a lot of fun researching and looking for good reference images for this one and just combining them into one illustration. I think that's one of the most exciting and most fun parts, doing the sketch and combining reference images and thinking of your own things that you want to place into a room like this. And if you want to see what exact reference images I've used, then you can head over to Patreon. I share all my reference boards and mood boards and references over there, so you can see exactly what kind of pictures I used for what part of the illustration or how I combine references to make something like this. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing the rough sketch. It's really fun to kind of step into the shoes of the character you are drawing and imagine what kind of room they would live in and to give kind of hints to their personality, what they like, and what kind of person they are. And the girl I'm drawing is someone who really likes reading and photography and art. And also her dog, he has cute toys to play with, and also his sleeping place is right next to her reading spot, so they can just spend time together. And after, you can see it right now, after I did the sketch, I went into the line work. Let's talk a bit more about the grid actually that I used, and that kind of is the topic of this video. I kept the grid on low opacity throughout the whole sketching and lining process, and I used it throughout the entire process of sketching and lining. For the blue sketch, the first one that I did, I used it to be able to determine quickly what kind of room I was drawing and to quickly map out where the room was and to quickly map out where roughly my furniture would be standing, and also to see where I wanted to place the girl and everything. So I just roughly used the grid and just used a few lines of it, and it made the whole rough sketching process so much easier. There was no guessing involved when it came to placing the room. I didn't have to really think about it because the lines already are there. You just have to go over them where you want your room to be, if that makes sense. And then for the pink sketch, I just needed to refine the rough furniture that I had made even more. And using the grid, it was so easy. I didn't have to draw any vanishing lines. It was heaven. I just used the lines that were already there, not only for the vanishing lines, but then also for the vertical lines. Sometimes there's a lot of guessing work involved and I can make kind of wonky vertical lines, but since there are so many vertical lines in the grid, I always had something to kind of look at while I was drawing organic lines. So I was able to just use it as a guideline, not necessarily redraw the lines, but just see what the right vertical line angle was, if that makes sense. I was able to both use the grid for concrete lines and to get concrete angles, but then also just as a tool of feeling more secure about where I was placing things. So I had a lot of fun using it, and I can highly recommend you to also try this and maybe start with a few boxes or something and then work your way into using it for bigger rooms like this if you don't have as much experience with drawing perspective and drawing rooms. I'm not sure if I did everything correctly for the room and if I did the perspective correctly, but it kind of looks legit, so that's good enough for me. I'm still on my pathway to being the best I can be at backgrounds. So yeah, for coloring this, I really wanted to make something atmospheric and more stylized coloring wise. I didn't necessarily want the colors to be realistic, but more fit the mood and then also look really pretty. So I at first experimented a bit and decided to use one of my reference images and play around with the colors a bit and then make it into a pixelated image to just be able to easily color pick certain pixels in that. And then I decided to just map out the whole illustration in one single color. So different brightnesses and saturations of that kind of bluish tone that I was going with, to just map out the whole room and just to be able to have different color everywhere and to just see how I wanted the contrast to be. I knew I wanted the window to be the light source, but I didn't exactly know where or what kind of color everything would have and how that would tie into the color scheme. So I just went with one color in the beginning, which made things so much easier, and I was very easily able to have color everywhere, if that makes sense. Since this is such a big room, it did take quite a while, but it would have taken so much more or so much longer if I had individually made a layer for every single piece of furniture or had to choose a different color for every single piece of furniture and at the same time coordinate a color scheme or something. So yeah, this was just a very good way of getting into coloring this. So I colored everything in this kind of bluish color because I knew I wanted the shadows all to be in that kind of color and then add some orange light into the light parts of the illustration like I had seen in the reference image. So when I had everything colored in, I then went in with not only the orange light but then also a soft skin color variation for her skin and the dog and then her hair. So everything that is in the focus kind of got a different kind of color on top, layered with very low opacity. And then I just went in and shaded everything with the same kind of bluish color and added some light effects and everything. But yeah, I had a lot of fun using this grid, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to finish the perspective in this way that quickly if it hadn't been for the grid. So if you're thinking about trying it, I can highly recommend. But again, maybe first start with boxes or something and move your way up into drawing a whole room, since that is a lot of work and can get pretty frustrating, and it's more easy to lose focus since there's a lot going on. Thanks so much to Holly Brown for getting me onto this grid and making me try this. And also thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please go over and check out my Class 101 class. I'm going to teach you how to also draw illustrations like this one, and I'm going to teach it to you in very simple and easy to follow steps. So if that's something you're interested in, or if you just want to support me, then I'm going to leave the link to that down below. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be seeing you very soon in my next video. Bye!